Beauty. One of the greatest advantages a human can possess, right? Study after study has found that attractive people are generally treated better. They're more likely to be hired, more likely to be trusted, more likely to be forgiven, more likely to be approached, more likely to be remembered, and if we're being honest, most of us would gladly accept those advantages, which creates a predicament. Because when people talk about the price or the cost of beauty, it often sounds ridiculous, like someone complaining that their wallet is too small for all their $100 bills. And in many cases, that is kind of what it is. Beauty is an incredible deal. The benefits usually outweigh the costs. But that doesn't mean that costs don't exist. It just means that they're harder to see. The biggest cost of beauty is also one of the most obvious ones, which is strange because almost no one really talks about it. Beauty is one of the few major advantages in life that naturally declines with age. Intelligence can build, wisdom can grow, character can build, skills can grow. Beauty, on average, generally peaks early. And that creates a unique psychological challenge if we're to believe the data is broadly conceptually accurate, because for decades, attractive people often receive signals from the world that they're special. People notice them first, approach them first, compliment them first, treat them differently, not because society is shallow, but because human beings are wired to respond to beauty. And then slowly those reactions begin to change. Not overnight, year by year. And if a large part of your identity was built around being attractive, that transition can be brutal. Because you're not simply losing your appearance, you're losing a version of reality you've grown accustomed to. A version of reality most people never experience in the first place. And the danger isn't aging, of course. Everyone dies. The danger is believing that beauty was who you were instead of simply something you had. One of the biggest dangers of beauty is that it can become a substitute for development. Not always, but fairly frequently. When doors open so easily, there's less pressure to build the skills needed to open them yourself. The same thing happens to naturally intelligent children. Life rewards them early, so they never develop the habits everyone else is forced to learn. Beauty can create a similar trap. Why become charismatic when attraction is already doing all the heavy lifting? Why develop resilience when rejection is less common? Why sharpen other advantages when one advantage is already solving so many problems? Until one day you encounter a problem that beauty cannot solve, and suddenly you're competing on different terms. Most people want attention until they receive attention for the wrong reasons. Because beauty attracts people, but attraction and respect are not the same thing. Neither are attraction and love, or attraction and genuine interest. A beautiful person often discovers that some people aren't interested in who they are. They're interested in possessing them, displaying them, sleeping with them, being seen with them or around them. The individual becomes secondary. The appearance becomes the focal point, the primary objective. And there's something deeply unsettling about realizing that a lot of people are seen less as a person and more as an opportunity. Beauty creates something few other advantages do. Instant visibility. A billionaire can walk into a room unnoticed. A genius can remain completely anonymous. Beauty is a little different. People see it immediately, which means envy can emerge immediately as well. Before you've spoken, before you've acted, before anyone knows who you are, before you've done anything whatsoever. People often assume that resentment must be earned, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's triggered by what you represent. A reminder of something someone else wishes they had. And unlike money, beauty is difficult to hide. At some point, many attractive people encounter the same question. Do they like me, or do they like the experience of being around someone attractive? It's not a tragic question, but it's a difficult one. Because beauty changes how people behave. They become friendlier, they become more attentive, more forgiving, more interested. And when that happens, especially frequently enough, it becomes harder to know what would remain if the beauty were to disappear tomorrow. How much of the reaction belongs to you because of who you are as a person, and how much belongs to the outer package? The more powerful the package, or the advantage, the harder it becomes to separate yourself from it. Beauty is not a curse. Let's be honest. It's not a burden, and it certainly isn't an equal trade. Beauty is one of the greatest advantages a human being can possess, no doubt about it. The benefits are obvious, but the costs aren't. But if there is one lesson hidden beneath all of them, it's that beauty is the safest when it's treated as an asset rather than an identity, because assets can be lost and reacquired. Identities are much harder to rebuild, and eventually, every gift asks the same question. When the advantage fades, what remains?